Welcome to Under the Fig Tree podcast from the Enrollment Office at Concordia Seminary. Join us as we talk theology and life under the fig tree.
Welcome back to another episode of Under the Fig Tree. We're glad that you're here with us as we have one of our brand new faculty members as our guest today. We're really excited about that. Katie, how's life?
Normal. I don't know.
Yes.
That's when people ask me, I'm just like, I don't know, normal. But it is busy. We're pretty busy here, but
how's your class going?
Really good. Yeah, I'm really enjoying being a student. It's kind of a mind shift. So I understand when our students come, and especially the second career students, and they haven't been here or been in class for who knows how many years. And now we're back and we have to relearn how to get 80 pages of reading done in 1 week. And
was that something you were doing when you were working at the credit union, reading 80 pages?
I was reading a lot at the credit union, but not academia.
No one was requiring you to write a book or write a paper on it after you were done.
It was like Stephen King and that stuff. So
there's a lot of theology in Stephen King. So
don't get me started. How much I love Stephen King.
Could do another episode on that, right?
Maybe.
So, well, we're glad that you're working here and that you're surviving your class.
Yeah,
and hopefully that continues to go well. In the studio today, we have Dr. Ryan Tinetti with us, one of our newest faculty members. If you were listening to our last podcast, President Egger mentioned that we have 4 great new faculty members, and our hope was to bring interviews with each of them to you. So you get to kick off the series of interviews with new faculty. So thanks for being here with us.
It's a delight. Thank you so much.
How's the beginning of the semester and all the transition treating you?
I think as well as could be expected. You know, it's a big transition, a big change, but the students here are incredible. They're earnest and interested and eager to learn, which makes my job super easy. And I love my material. And so to be able to be teaching things that I am passionate about to students who are interested, it's kind of the best case scenario.
That's awesome. So people might not know you yet, and it'd be great if you could maybe introduce kind of you and your path to ministry, maybe talk about your family or whatever else you want to share about who you are as Ryan.
Well, so in brief, I didn't anticipate or intend to go into ministry originally. I wanted to be a writer and a journalist, and I went to Michigan State University and go green, and with intentions of going into journalism. And the Lord just really got a hold of me while I was an undergrad through like campus Bible studies and got to reading the scriptures a lot more for myself and studying and teaching it. And that's where I had other people kind of affirming me in that path and saying, hey, you know what, you're pretty good at this teaching the Bible stuff. Have you considered that? And it wasn't something that was on my radar. If anything, I thought maybe something like, urban ministry or overseas missionary, that sort of thing. And as it turns out, that ended up has been part of my story. But I stuck with it at MSU, at Michigan State, and graduated from there and wasn't quite sure that I wanted to go right back into seminary. Again, being in classes and everything, I thought, oh gosh, I've been in college for a long time already. So I ended up going overseas for a while with LCMS World Mission to Bangkok, Thailand. And that ended up just being such a wonderful decision, not only because that was a great formative learning experience, but also because I met my wife, Anne, through that too. She was doing the same program, however, to Taiwan. We kind of did the long distance relationship thing for a while and ended up come back together, proposed to her over here at Forest Park, first year at SEM. And we were married between first and second year. And now we've got a family, 4 kids, and grateful to be able to live on campus with our family.
That's awesome. I proposed to my wife in Forest Park too. So
there's something
it's a good
about
spot for
it, right?
it.
Yeah, it feels like a natural place for proposals.
Yeah, you ride or walk through there and you'll see all sorts of things happening.
Somebody else is getting hitched today.
And people are getting engaged. They're getting ready for prom. They're taking wedding photos. Yeah, it's a good place. Yeah. Well, that's good. It's always interesting to me to hear the path that people take to make it to the seminary and make it into ministry. And I think it's helpful to hear other people's stories, because it's not a straight shot for most people, but there's some winding road that gets you here. And
for sure. I think my encouragement would be to anyone is not to rule yourself out because you're like, oh, I didn't grow up in a church household, or I didn't go to a Concordia University, or I didn't go to college at all even. There are so many different paths. What's important is the Lord and his call and claim on your life. And who knows what that's going to look like in every individual.
Yeah. I always talk about how this is the fun time of the year for me because, as students are finally coming to campus, for us in enrollment, we get to know kind of all of the struggles and challenges that people have overcome to get to that spot. And so it's fun to see people actually here. Like you've worked through all of this and you've come. And so, that's great.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask, what was your call right out of seminary, and then fill in the gaps from there to here?
Yeah. So I graduated and was ordained in 2010. I left here. My first call was to a little church called Faith Lutheran Church in Seaside, California. Beautiful area right there on the Monterey Peninsula. It was pretty plum place to go right out of seminary. And we were very grateful, loved the people there. And two of our kids were born there too at Chomp Community Hospital of Monterey Peninsula. Nice. And from there, the Lord called us to beautiful Savior Lutheran in Spokane, Washington, in the inland Northwest is what they call that, and another wonderful area. But our last assignment and place where we served the longest was in Arcadia, Trinity Lutheran in northern Michigan, which again, so we went from like the ocean to the mountains to what Michiganders call the third coast or the fresh coast.
People love Arcadia.
People love Arcadia.
Come from all over.
There's like a direct path from St. Louis to Arcadia in the summertime, like a pneumatic tube just sucks them right up. And for understandable reasons, St. Louis is a wonderful place to live in the summertime. It's its own thing.
Yeah.
And
a little warm.
But Trinity Lutheran and Arcadia, just a small town ministry, an idyllic place in a lot of ways, and a wonderful place to serve for our kids to be there. And so it's near and dear to our heart as well.
Mm-hmm. Did you have intentions on becoming a professor, or what does that look like when you're going from parish ministry to all of a sudden the seminary saying, hey, we want you to come and teach? And I guess we haven't even talked about what you teach yet. I failed to mention that, but maybe you want to share that too.
What exactly do you do here, right? So did I have intentions? I don't know that I had intentions, perhaps desire at some point. It's one of those things you think, oh, maybe someday it'd be interesting to be a prof, because you are so formed and shaped by your teachers here that you think, okay, that could be a really cool gig. I want to be like those guys. But I loved serving in the parish too. I did do a doctorate on the side during parish ministry. And so in that respect, it helped to prepare me for the possibility of teaching. But when President Egger reached out to me, it was kind of a surprise. And then it was just, my father-in-law calls it being thrown in the paint shaker. Where now I got to reckon with all of that. But I'm very grateful for the path that God's taken me on. In some ways, maybe it's been unconventional, but I've been privileged to serve in a range of roles that I think have well prepared me now. This is how it so often is, right? You look backwards and you can see, oh, God was preparing me for what's up ahead. And so I feel well prepared now to be able to help form and teach and train our students as they're going to go out into many and various different kinds of roles and places.
So what is it that you're training them to do?
Good. Yeah.
To go back to that.
Yeah. So I'm teaching in the practical department, where it's really, we're bringing together all of the different things we're learning, whether exegetically, biblical studies and history, and all of these different areas of theology and ministry, bringing it to bear. My area of specialty, if you will, is homiletics, preaching. But I'm teaching a class called Teaching the Faith. So what does it look like? The educational ministries of the congregation, and also just an intro to pastoral ministry and introducing the facets of being a pastor. So that's my area where I get to teach. And so it's fun, especially coming fresh out of the parish, where all of these things are very much still on my heart and my mind. And I'm able to convey that and communicate that to our students.
What did you do your doctorate in? Was it in homiletics?
Mm-hmm,
Okay.
Yep. So focusing on homiletics, preaching, and classical rhetoric. So I guess I love ancient stuff, both biblically, of course, but also from the classics that we think of as like the Greeks and Romans, guys like Aristotle and Plato, and what they had to say about the art of public speaking. Mm-hmm. And what's interesting now is we get into this age where people say that we're post-literate, folks aren't as interested in reading and writing and what that entails. Well, we can learn something from more pre-literate cultures on what does it look like to communicate effectively and to do so in a way that connects with the hearers. And so I've enjoyed learning from those classics now and bringing that to the 21st century to prepare preachers for communicating the good news to their hearers.
Yeah. They might like watching a video podcast instead of reading or writing, huh?
Perhaps. I hope that we don't stop reading and writing too, but I think it can be a both and for sure.
Yeah, that's good. No, that part's interesting because I feel like in conversations that we have, there are times where people are really interested in theology, but aren't quite sure about the parish pastor part of it. And so they might be interested in being a military chaplain, or they might be interested in being a missionary, or they said, hey, I've always thought about going on to do doctoral work and I would love to teach sometime.
Right.
Is there a space for me to do that kind of stuff? And so your journey, kind of shows that there's a place for that.
Absolutely. No, I mean, I've checked like all the boxes on the ministry bingo card. But I was talking with a friend, young man, who I hope will be a student here before too long. And I was saying to him, ministry is a trailhead. It's not a terminus. Like when you get into ministry, it could go in so many different directions. It's not like, here's the color by number that if you go to the seminary, this is what you're going to be and that's what it's going to look like. To the contrary, like you say, you might be going overseas as a missionary. You might be a domestic missionary because the U.S. is very much a mission field. It might be church planting. You might be serving in a small town. You might be serving as part of a team ministry. There's so many different ways. And not only that, once you get into those contexts, you're going to put your own personal stamp on it. And God's going to use your particular gifts and skills and experiences in that place. And that's what's really exciting for me. And so my encouragement would be to those who are considering ministry, not to think, okay, I've just got to fit into this box and this is what it's going to look like. Like it can take so many different shapes, and God is going to use who you are in order to shape the ministry that you're in.
Yeah, for sure. There's just so many ways of serving and opportunities for that, and different people who need to hear the gospel.
Katie, you're kind of example of that yourself, though, too, right? I mean, because you're in this program now as our deaconess.
Yeah, a single class
for
now.
That's okay.
But yeah, well, even with deaconesses, if anyone out there is listening that wants to be a deaconess, we've been called the Swiss Army knife of the LCMS. Because deaconesses serve in so many different capacities, but I think that goes for pastors too, because we need them as professors and teachers and working at CPH and working in the IC and all this stuff. So lots of things that people can do after seminary.
Absolutely.
So PhD in homiletics,
doctor of ministry,
demon in homiletics.
Not demon, to be clear.
We have to
demon.
There's a period in there that separates them out.
I love calling it a demon.
Oh gosh.
We were instructed by comms how we're supposed to like lay that out so it does not sound or look inappropriate.
Right.
You talked about the classics, kind of learning from the past in terms of kind of practical application today. Do you have kind of an area that you're passionate about, or one that when you're teaching students, that's kind of what you're hoping them to get out of your classes?
Well, I think the biggest thing is just to recognize that it's all about connection. Being able to connect the heart of God to the hearts of his hearers. As preachers, we're just conduits of that connection. And so in our preparation to preach and in our delivery, we want to take that very seriously, to recognize like God has called us to be his called and ordained servant of the word in this place. And as much as anything, we don't want to get in the way of that. We want to be just someone who's a stand-in, but there's a lot of ways that we can get in the way of it. And one of the ways, and one of the things that I am passionate about is in our preaching, in our delivery, for it to be as natural as it can be. To the extent that we're able to not to use too many notes and to say, how can we really be connecting within a conversational sort of way with our hearers? Because it matters. It matters that we're making eye contact. It matters that we're able to speak in a way that resonates with those who are listening to us. So I do put an emphasis on, of course, we're going to have a lot of stress on our content, but also on the delivery side of the sermon, because otherwise it'd be like, why don't you just write something up and hand it out to people when they come in on Sunday morning? Like, God's going to use you. He wants a person in the pulpit to proclaim the good news at this time and place. And so I want to privilege that as well.
Yeah, I think that's so often it's not necessarily what someone says, but it's how they say it.
Sure.
So I think that's really important to teach.
Yeah, preachers are kind of embodying the message. And it's easier for me as an Italian Lutheran because I talk with my hands. And so it comes more naturally to me. But God's going to use any kind of personality and persona. The goal isn't to, for me and for other teachers here, the goal isn't to make you Ryan Tinetti or Peter Nafsker or David Schmidt. These are other preaching professors here at the seminary. The goal for us is to help make you the best version of you, where God's going to use you in order to connect to others. And I think that's assuredly the case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's interesting you talk about not getting in the way, because I feel like that's so much of pastoral ministry in general. Of as sinful humans, it's easy for us to get in God's way a lot of times, and recognizing those places to just kind of let Him work. And obviously, there's a lot of hard work that goes into pastoral ministry, but sometimes if we're not cognizant of the ways that we get in the way, that we can make it harder on ourselves.
And that's right. Make it harder on ourselves, because we say in the Catechism, the kingdom of God comes without our prayers. Right. Yes. Like, God's going to get His work done, and we make it easier on ourselves when we don't get in the way of the Holy Spirit coming through. So, that's a continual growth area for myself too. So
it's the daily dying to getting in God's way.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I wanted to switch gears a little bit.
Okay.
Since you're brand new here.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, when did you move here?
This summer. So July 15th, family and I, we moved into St. Louis. It was 100 degrees with 100% humidity that day. So welcome. Yep. And then it poured down like 3 inches of rain the next day.
It's everything that was caught in the air, I think, right?
Exactly. So it's just a couple months in. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So just being fresh and new, what's your favorite part about either being in St. Louis or being a part of the seminary, or anything with a new perspective?
Yeah. So maybe first, St. Louis is a cool town. There's great neighborhoods. Of course, the parks. We mentioned Forest Park already, but there's Tower Grove Park. There's Carondelet Park. There's so many great parks and neighborhoods in the city, and incredible eateries, restaurants. Like, the food scene is choice. But then the seminary community is so cool to be a part of. For those who have the privilege to live on campus, there's always things happening, even if you don't live on campus, that you can still be a part of, whether it's, Friday cookouts, or this past week we had the Jambalaya Fest, where some churches from Louisiana, I guess, came up and put it on. And it's just, it's a ton of fun. One of the best days of the year. It's so good. There's the intramurals, and I get to play intramurals with my boys as well, who are 15 and 13. You're supposed to be 14. He's going to be 14 in a few weeks. And all of that, I just love that. It's a ready-made community that you're able to just slot into. And, it's not everybody's jam. There's no pressure to be a part of everything, but it's there if you want it. The table is set and you can just pull your seat right up, and that's awesome. It's a real blessing.
That's great. So one of the things we always love to do when guys come on the show, or when we have guests on the show, I should say, because they're not always guys, is to ask for advice for ministry. So if you had one piece of advice to give to somebody who's currently kind of thinking through church work in general and coming to the seminary more specifically, what kind of advice would you give them?
Well, I'll give you, I mentioned the one thing already about don't look at ministry as this is a terminus, this is a trailhead.
Which is really good, I think.
I think another thing would be something that the author Frederick Buechner says, which is to listen to your life. Listen to your life. And by that, he means look back on your life and your own biography and the ways that God has formed you, the experiences that he has placed you in, the people he's set into your life. Listen to that and how he has been speaking through that. That's been really helpful for me. And even with this call here to the seminary, listen to my life and listening to others who have spoken into my life. For anyone considering ministry, you're probably thinking, I'm not good enough. I'm not up to this. I'm not spiritual enough, whatever it might be. And that's normal. But to listen to your life, to how others have spoken into it, because that can very much be the way in which God's speaking into it. So that would be my advice.
Yeah, that's great. I found in all of the conversations that I've had, I'm not sure I've encountered someone who hasn't mentioned someone who has spoken into their life like that along the way to at least plant the seed or encourage it along and get them to this point of saying, well, people have been telling me this for a long time.
Right.
Now I guess I should talk to you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly right.
That's good. Well, we have another fun part of the show that has absolutely nothing to do with anything except for us having fun. So, Katie, you want to introduce?
Yeah, well, we are going to talk about some opinions, so it is the most important part of the show. Because if you have the wrong opinion, that'll stay with you.
And maybe we'll make fun of you later.
Yeah.
That's fair.
So it's called Right for the Pickin' or Leave It on the Tree.
Okay.
We're going to name a few things, and if you like them, they are right for the pickin'.
Okay.
If you don't, you just say leave it on the tree. And you have to pick one or the other. You can't waver in the middle.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll start.
I think you get to start.
I will start. So right for the pickin' or leave it on the tree, camping.
I'm going to leave it on the tree. Well,
that is surprising.
Here's the thing. My dad worked for Marriott Hotel, so I grew up staying in hotels.
No reason to camp.
No reason to camp.
Too bougie.
But since you said I can't stay in the middle. Now, in my own life and my family, we've tried to be more campers. But I would say I'm probably even then more of a glamper than a camper. So I have to just be honest and listen to my life in that regard.
Very nice. I am a wish that we camped kind of person, but we have not actually done it. We got a tent when we got married. Like one of the things on our registry was a tent that has now sat in our basement storage room in each house that we've lived in. We've never even opened it up to make sure all the parts are there.
Oh, no.
Hopefully whoever gave that to us doesn't watch the podcast, but we have it, and our daughters talk about camping, but they're 7 and almost 5. So we're at that point where they were too young to do it for a while. They're kind of getting to that point of being able to do it. And now we're throwing another baby in the mix. So who knows when we might actually get to go do it. So right for the picking if we actually did it. I think.
That's same. Yeah. I've done it a couple times with friends and I loved it, but we just haven't done that. But I wish we would. So in theory, right for the picking.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, my wife and I have done a couple of float trips with friends where we did camp, but somebody else worried about all the logistics of supplies and things. So it was fun when we did it.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried to think, since you most recently came from Michigan, my first thought was something Michigan related. And my youngest, who is going to be 5 soon, was just talking about this the other day, but blueberry picking, as we did that last year when we were visiting Michigan. So right for the picking or?
Oh, yeah. So much so. There's a great place near Arcadia. Shout out to Putney U-Pick. And you just go, and it's like a lot of things up there, just kind of honor system. And you grab your bag and you fill it up and weigh it. Okay, here's how much we put in the box. But I love that. And so delicious. Blueberries, I could go all day. I'm not sure where they are in the power ranking of blueberries, or of berries generally, but they're right toward the top. Strawberry probably takes it, but I'm going to put blueberries top 3 probably.
Nice.
I really like that you have a berry power ranking.
I've had this conversation with others. I think about it. I love berries, and blueberries are, they're one of the best.
Right up there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I don't think I've ever been blueberry picking, but I love blueberries as well. So it's probably right for the picking.
Yes.
It's It's a fun Michigan experience.
I would probably just eat them.
Well, you can do that
you
too.
do. No, that's
But then you put some in the bucket. And you take
as
them
go.
home.
Yeah,
Hopefully, you
that's
put a
all
few
right.
in the bucket
Yes.
too. Yeah,
A few.
The best of both
Sure.
worlds.
Right.
So, definitely right for the picking for me.
Yeah.
We enjoyed that and
Yeah.
had fun, and we'll do it again if we go back to
Right.
Michigan.
Nice. So my next one, I don't know. It might offend your Italian self. I don't know. We'll find out. Right for the picking or leave it on the tree. Toasted ravioli.
it does not offend me.
Oh,
I'm
good.
still getting into this. It's like a St. Louis thing. So I'm going to say, right for the picking for sure. I mean, it's delicious. So yeah, I'm not going to leave that around.
Yeah. I got to see, well, yeah. I would go with them too, right for the picking for me.
Nice.
I did not see them until we came here, but they're good.
Yeah,
good
in
option. And
northern Michigan, we actually had a Italian restaurant start by a guy who's a transplant from St. Louis, and he's got toasted ravioli on the menu, and it was blowing people's minds. Like, what is this? So, yeah. As far as emos, I mean, are you going to ask me next about that? Because I'm afraid I don't know if I should give any hot takes
Could
about
be
emos.
a bonus one.
that might actually be my next one. So we'll get to your hot take or
Okay.
less hot take.
I love T-Ravs, as the locals call them. I don't really eat them because I don't eat gluten, but I grew up in Fort Wayne and we had them there for some reason at one little Fort Wayne
St. Louis
chain.
people. That
Yeah,
came,
I'm sure.
I have no idea. So I didn't really know it was a St. Louis thing until later.
Export.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I only had them via like catering for the first few times. Like the dining hall here on campus would make them sometime. And I will say you should really go to a restaurant to try them.
Yes.
Like
Sure.
don't take them from whatever
Yeah.
mass-produced catered
Right.
event that you experience. But yeah.
Yep.
So yes, now the moment that you've been waiting for. I had seen Katie's choice first, and I thought that this is one that we always have to ask about. But St. Louis style pizza, specifically Emos, the thin crust, and
I think so. I hope this isn't a both and, but I'm going to pick it. But so long as you understand that what you're getting is its own experience, and don't come looking for Little Caesars, right? Like or Domino's or whatever, like
or any other kind of pizza.
right. I think it's delicious, but it's not pizza. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
That's where I stand. I can do no other.
Yeah.
Leave it all the way on the tree.
You want nothing to do with it.
It's horrendous.
You can have wrong opinions too. So,
Oh, okay.
no, it's all right. Many people do.
Yeah, I think a lot of transplants are like, what is this thing? And for me, I just had to get out of that schema that this is pizza and just enjoy it in its own right. And then you're like, oh, actually, this is pretty good.
It's so slimy. The Provel. I don't know. I've been told, well, you didn't go to the right emos or something. Like,
I've never had a
That's
slimy
fine.
version.
It
of
was
but-
maybe I'll try again.
No, I didn't actually realize I was supposed to hate it until I came to the seminary. Because my sister-in-law is from St. Louis, and before I enrolled at the seminary, I was working out at the University of Missouri. And so I would come over to visit my brother when he was in town to visit her, and her parents would just order it, and so we'd have it, and it was what it was, kind of like you know what it is. And so we ate it, and it was fine. And then I came to the seminary, and there were that many more people who weren't from here.
Yeah.
And you just hear all of the very powerful feelings about emos. And so I was like, oh, I guess not everybody likes
As far as pizza power rankings
Right.
go.
Oof. Yeah, that's a whole nother one. It was interesting, being from Michigan, I've come to find out that Little Caesars, Domino's, I don't know if everyone knows this one, Hungry Howie's, these are all Michigan based, which maybe tells you more than you need to know about Michigan people. Like we care about our pizza, and our diets perhaps reflect that.
Well, Domino's started in Ann Arbor. Right?
I think Ann Arbor. Mm-hmm.
Fascinating.
Yep.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Well, good. Well, thanks for being here today, and thanks for the conversation. We
My pleasure.
appreciate getting to know you better, and
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll invite you back at some future time to talk about something else.
Good. And I would encourage anybody who's got questions about ministry stuff, you can, by all means, reach out to our admissions department, but also I'm happy to be a resource too. Folks can reach out to me directly. Having just come out of that world, I've got lots of thoughts, and I think it's great.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's one of the great things about our faculty here is that they're so accessible, and that there's really this genuine concern and care for forming good pastors and deaconesses for service in the church. And so despite all of your other accomplishments or work or things that you have going on, I've yet to find a faculty member who's not willing to talk with a student here who's struggling about something, or to encourage them along the way. But even then, to take phone calls or emails from prospective students and just kind of talk through what that looks like and provide encouragement. So
absolutely,
we really appreciate that. And I think it's a really good benefit for our prospective students.
You're welcome.
So thanks for joining us here on Under the Fig Tree. If you have not just started a conversation with us yet, we'd love to be able to encourage you as you discern the ways that God might have you serve. If you would click on our request for information link that's with this podcast, you can get in touch with us, and we'll be happy to talk more with you. And if you're not necessarily a prospective student, but maybe a church worker or someone else who's listening just for fun, help us to identify those people and encourage them along the way, and then get them connected with us so that we can help them out as they discern God's working in their lives. And so like this, share it, follow, do all the things that you do with podcasts. Stay in touch with our channel so that you can always know when more episodes come out, and join us next time under the Fig Tree.